Hello, this is Lynn Langett, and in today's All Things Data screencast, I'm going to share with you some things that I discovered when working with a client recently around SQL Server 2012 SSIS package management. Before we get started, just a bit more about me if you've not watched one of my screencasts before. I am a practicing big data architect working in Microsoft and other data and cloud technologies, as well as a professional technical educator. I've been recognized with an MVP for SQL Server, GDE for Google Cloud, Master for MongoDB, and lots more. So if you like what you see, subscribe to this channel and follow my other resources. Now let's go ahead and get started. To start the demo, we'll take a look at an existing package inside of the new SQL Server Design Tools, which replaces bids, of course. So this is just the simplest possible package so that we can understand the package parameterization and deployment. This is not designed to be complex in terms of packages or anything. It's just one little small part of this. So I just used the data profiling task, which if you're not familiar gives you a quick snapshot. I can actually just show you inside of here, and I can say edit and show you the profile requests, and it'll just do an evaluation of whatever input you assign and put that as an output that can be viewed with the data profile viewer. And the reason I picked it is because unlike many of the other tasks, you don't have to have a data flow associated with it. You actually associate the connection managers with the task itself. Just super simple. The connection string parameters are often changed from hard-coded to parameterized during production. And sort of in the old world, you would create variables and associate variables. And there is an enhancement that I wanted to show you that I discovered. If you just right-click on the task here and I click parameterize, I can go inside of here and I can say whatever property, and in this case, I'm going to say destination, and I could say do not use parameter, use existing parameter, and create a new parameter, and I can call this destination, and I can scope it now to the package or the project. And this scoping is also new, and as we look at the new deployment options, this will become important. I can also mark this to be required or as a sensitive. Now I only have one package in here, so obviously I'd only need to scope this to the package for this, but to demonstrate the project-based deployment, I'm just going to go ahead and say project, and then I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to just leave this name, I guess. And notice I have the little FX, which shows me that I now have this as a variable for this package. Also, if I go to the SSIS menu, I can go to variables. Now if I wanted to add a second variable, I could just right click right here and say parameterize, and I could say maximum error count, and I could create a new maximum error count, and I could create a new variable for that, and I could scope this one to the package if I wanted to rather than the project, and I could say OK. Now when I'm ready to deploy my package, I have a couple of options. I can use the old methods of deployment, and of course first I would build to make sure that I have a valid package, and then I could just click deploy. Now if I click deploy, I'll be presented with a deployment wizard. So I can go ahead and I can say deploy. It's being validated, and then when I deploy it, I can deploy it to a server, which would deploy it so it's visible through Management Studio, or I can deploy it as a file. So if I say server, and I say I'm going to deploy it to the server, and I say OK, now I'm getting something new, and this is what I wanted to show you. Basically it says enter the destination server name where the project will be located in the Integration Services Catalog. In the past, we had a module that allowed us to work with SSIS packages. Now in 2012, we have the Integration Services Catalog as an option. So if I browse, it says it wasn't found. Okay, and this is on purpose. Notice it says to deploy a project to the server, you must create the SSIS DB catalog. And it tells you open the create catalog from Integration Services. So if I wanted to do this, I would go over to my Management Studio, to my particular instance, to the Integration Services Catalog. I would right click and I would say create catalog. So I would create a catalog, and it says to create and use this catalog, CLR integration must be enabled. So that's another thing to know. We have to enable CLR, and then enable automatic execution of integration services stored procedures at SQL Server, name of the catalog, and then you can, you should in production put in a password. So protects data using encryption, a key is needed. So I'll type in a value here and retype that. And it says you should of course back this up, and I'll say OK. And so now I have this new catalog with nothing in it. So now if I go back over here and I browse, I can now see this catalog. Now it says that I should be making a new folder. So this is my container, and this is the new deployment model where I have a container for multiple projects. So I'm going to say new folder. I'm going to call this Lin Demo and a test for screencast. And say OK. And say OK. And now next. And now it's going to give me my path information and deploy. So now if I switch over to Management Studio and I do a refresh, under Integration Services Catalogs, I now have Lin Demo, and I have a project, my Integration Services project, with a package, and here's my package. Now interestingly, I can also specify the environment. So if I right click here, I can create an environment. So why this is useful is you might have multi-phased deployments. You might have a test environment, sandbox. You might have obviously prod, and you can associate different variable settings with different environments. Very, very handy. So now inside of my package, if I right click, I can do a couple things. First thing I can do is I can validate my package and make sure that it will actually work. So inside of here, you might remember that I had parameters. So my data profiling destination is output and my maximum error count. I also have my connection managers inside of here. So I can go ahead and I can configure my connection managers if I want to. So now I say OK. And now it says the operation ID 2 has started. For information about the package execution validations, open the dashboard from the SSIS DB node. For other integration services operations, open the all operations report. Would I like to open this? Yes, it's probably already done, but I'll open it. And you can see that, let me just make this bigger, that I have this new dashboard that will do validation of my package. So I've worked with a lot of customers that are having package management challenges because of the amount of packages that they have. So I'm educating my customers. One of the reasons I'm making this video is for all of them, but it's also for you who might be struggling with this. So we did a validate. Of course, we can do an execute, and that's going to bring up a similar dialog box where we then can configure our values inside of here. And then we also can click configure, which again allows us to edit. So I could go in here and I could say, all right, I want more errors for this particular execution, allowable, for example. So really interesting set of functionality. Okay, what I've done is I've created a new project here with the data profiling task without any parameters in it. So now here I'm going to go ahead and rebuild, and we succeeded. So now I'm going to say convert to package deployment module. Say OK. It reminds me here you cannot perform this conversion if you're using any features unique to project deployment such as parameters. And it says that this passed, and we're going to say OK. So now I've converted it, and notice it's set up for package deployment model, but it's not yet complete. So now I no longer have the deploy on the menu. And if I say build, and now I convert to package deployment model, and I get a new menu. So inside of here, this wizard converts an integration services project from package deployment to project deployment by converting the packages and configurations from previous to 2012. Okay, because this was started from the BI the BIDS studio, the files will be upgraded. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say OK, and we want this package to be upgraded. Notice we can specify a password and say next, and now we have a project name, simple demo, and we have a check here for execute packages. So if we had execute packages, the packages shown below contain execute package tasks. It's recommended you let the wizard change each of these to access packages using a project-based reference that simplifies deployment. And we have no configurations. If we had configurations, we would modify. Parameters would be generated for these configurations. And no configuration properties are available, and there are no parameters, so we're going to click next, and this is the simplest possible thing. So we converted it. So now the next thing that we're going to do is deploy. So notice the 3 steps: verify, convert, and deploy. Now we did this with the simplest possible project, and so we're going to go ahead and deploy. And now we pick the server name, and let's pick our server here. And now we pick a path, and we'll just put it inside of this other folder. We could make a new project if we wanted to, and we'll deploy it. And just to show you what this looks like, I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And now inside of integration services, I have two projects, and inside of each project I have different packages. All right, I don't want to make this too long, so to sum up, you're probably going to want to read this MSDN article, which is a summary of the changes of the deployment of SSIS projects or packages, and it has a pretty good comparison you can see here of the different changes that are included in the project or package deployment model, particularly the changes around configuration, like I mentioned, the need for the CLR to be turned on, CLR integration, and parameters, along with the environment container of variables for the different environments. So just to sum up, this is Lynn Langett for All Things Data. Have a great day.